and tethered the horses with their heads together and their backs towards the angry lion, a plan to prevent them stampeding. Kruger was crouching between the lion and the tethered horses when the beast suddenly sprang over him at the backs of the animals. He fired. The shot killed the lion in flight, and the body fell just short of the horses. As the hunters came running up, the boyish Nimrod jumped up exultantly on the animal's ribs. It emitted a great roar which startled the approaching hunters, but the roar had been caused by the sudden deflation of the lungs. Kruger narrowly escaped a thrashing that time, for he had much ado to persuade his uncles that the animal was dead when he jumped on it. The day came, however, when he got one. An uncle had wounded a white rhino, a dangerous creature indeed, and had shouted a warning to the lad to keep away from it as it ran past him into the bush. He paid no heed and chased it. Suddenly it turned and chased him, and though he fled as fast as his young limbs could carry him, and he was the speediest runner among the emigrant boys, the rhino soon caught him and knocked him down. It was about to trample him when he managed to fire upwards into its head, and the charge proving fatal, it fell almost on top of him. His uncles came running up then, refused to listen to his explanation, and administered a severe thrashing. Yes, the days of the trek certainly taught him self-reliance. The virgin wilderness tested his resource. Once, when rations ran short and he had failed to shoot his quota for the pot, he was watching enviously the campfire around which his more fortunate elders were grilling game. He lay down bemoaning his hard lot and assuring the flint-hearted hunters that death was indeed preferable to his privations, and that he was determined to end them all. With that, he took out his powder horn, which he had filled surreptitiously with water, and made as if to cast it on the fire. The hunters, fearing that they would be blown up, hurriedly dispersed, leaving the game to Kruger, who, when he told the story in later years, commented with a glint in his eye on the excellence of the meal he had enjoyed at their expense. Game indeed was sometimes lacking during the early treks, but the young Kruger, ever a devotee of prayer and Bible reading, characteristics which won him the esteem of his fellows, once found himself with a party of trekkers in an apparently gameless region. After praying openly for divine aid, he stole forth into the bush in the early morning and managed soundlessly to beat up the bustard which he had all along known to be there. As it flew over the Berger outspan, the worthy hunters shot it down, and there was much private comment on the efficacies of Kruger's prayers. Endless stories are told of his fleetness of foot in the trek days. One told by Kruger himself in the anteroom of the Raadzaal in the later years of his presidency is characteristic. He had incurred the displeasure of an elephant which chased him madly through the bush. While speeding along, he tripped over a lion. Now, when a lion is tripped over, he is apt to yield to panic and runs ahead in a straight line, looking neither to the right nor to the left, and So said Kruger. This lion began racing along with him, as both were desirous of escaping from the elephant. We were running together, the lion and I, said Paul, and sometimes the lion was in front and sometimes I. President, we were running together, interrupted the thin, dry voice of Dr. Leeds from the doorway of the Darad Zal. The Rad is waiting. Or Kruger stood up then and went out. Nor did he ever finish that story. Okay, well, quite a character. And he was the leader of the Afrikaans forces going into the Boer War. So this is just a little look at who he was as a youngster and the sort of environment that he grew up in. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So I think, I don't know, Roger, would you like to hear more, or have you heard enough for today?
Are you wanting to read more?
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Obviously slipped out for a second. I will carry
Actually,
on.
I was trying to talk while I was muted. I apologize. It sounded pretty good, actually. If you want to do it, how long have you been reading so far?
We started off at about 5 past, and it's 15 past, so 10 minutes we've done.
Okay, but this one,
you want more?
This first story I got is like 10 pages long, so.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna have to compensate 5 more pages.
Oh, okay.
You said 5 pages, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you get go 5 more pages.
Okay.
I was able to get everything organized though, so when it's my turn, I'll be able to read this one. So okay. I got it straightened out. And
all right, cool.
On the stream, I got it started a little bit late because I was having problems with OBS, but I do have it recording. So.
Oh, that's great! Thank you. That's awesome.
So I got the whole reading, just so you know.
All right. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Roger.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let me carry on with some more of his background. So, the voortrekker, Hendrik Potgieter, was a real leader of men. While his little band of immigrants was still in what is now the Orange Free State, he and his brother Hermanus rode forth to spy out the land. They first went east towards Delagoa Bay, but disliked the sinister look of the country and turned north. They were impressed by the mighty baobab trees that rose ghost-like, with the huge arms outspread in the twilight, and were interested also in the half-breed sons of the fierce outlaw Conrad de Bois, who had fled the Cape and become a power among the blacks in the Limpopo. Like the Israelites of old, seeking the promised land, they saw strange sights, vast herds of wildebeest and buffalo, and old mine workings in the hills. But when they got back, they were met, alas, with ghastly news. They heard that hordes of Matabele had swooped down on a party of elephant hunters who had gone out one day from the immigrant camp under old S.C. Erasmus and had speared them brutally to death. Potgieter assembled his men at Wetskop between the Renoster and the Wilga rivers. He lashed 50 wagons together and awaited the oncoming of other Matabele. In this laager was the young Paul Kruger, a lad of 12. He must have heard with deep emotion the prayers of the predicant, the preacher, as, with his eyes upturned, he sought God's help for victory. Almost at once, over the brown hills, came an army of blacks. Their song was like the lower notes of an organ. They came on, brandishing assegais. Commandant Potgieter and a score of Boers clattered forth to meet them. They fired into the oncoming mass, saw some of the Matabele drop, retreated, reloaded, and fired again, all the while retiring on the wagons. Little Paul Kruger, fascinated, watched them gallop forth and back, safely into the wagon circle, which was at once made closed. He took up his position with the men inside and kept his eyes to the barrel of his gun. The Matabele sat down in a vast circle. They shouted derisively at the farmers, but they would kill them to a man, they yelled. Then, at a guttural command, they jumped up, hissed loudly, and rushed at the wagons. The farmers fired again and again through the wheels. Their guns grew red hot. The women and the children helped them to reload. But Paul Kruger shot down many a warrior that day and did a grown man's work. For 6 hours, the Matabele strove to break the circle, but finding that they could not and that many warriors had been slain, they hurled more than 1,000 assegais over the wagon hoods and drove away the farmers' cattle, which could not, of course, be kept inside the laager. And although Potgieter and his followers charged after them until sundown, 4,600 head of cattle and 50,000 sheep were lost and the farmers ruined. But Potgieter did not despair. With Commandant Mentz, he assembled a body of farmers to retake the cattle, and young Kruger went with him. The commando rode on for days over desolate country and found itself at dawn near Mosiga, about 150 miles west of present-day Johannesburg, where they saw 15 great kraals, the blue smoke of early morning fires, and some of their stolen cattle. Grimly they watched the scene through the pass. They stole nearer and took up commanding positions unobserved. They were armed with long, clumsy, but deadly elephant guns. They opened fire. The bullets tore through the unresisting walls of the kraals, and the warriors, taken completely by surprise, came pouring forth, assegai and shield in hand. Their captain, Kalipi, was far away. They had no leader. They fell in scores. Panic seized them. The white force rode in, fired the kraals, and pursued the Matabele in all directions. They collected 7,000 head of cattle, as well as sheep, and drove them back to their distant camp. Time passed. The many thrashings the Dati farmers gave Msilikatsi, the Matabele king, caused him eventually to retreat north of the Limpopo River into Rhodesia. But two chiefs still defied them. Mapela, one of them, fierce and crafty, invited Hermanus Potgieter, brother of the victorious Hendrik Potgieter, to his kraal one day to show him a great store of ivory. When Potgieter appeared, the treacherous chief dragged him to the top of a hill, skinned him alive, and disemboweled him. This horrible crime quickly got to the ears of the Boers. About that time, too, they heard that Mapela's neighbor, Makapan, had savagely murdered a convoy of women and children trekking north from Soutpansberg to Pretoria. Commandant Pretorius accordingly rode out with 200 men from Pretoria, among them all Kruger, to punish Mapela and Makapan. Commandant Piet Potgieter, nephew of the murdered Hermanus Potgieter, joined them with 100 men. The combined force defeated Makapan and drove his warriors headlong into the caves, which ramified far into the mountains. They prepared to take a terrible revenge, for they blocked all egress from the caves and saw that none escaped. Time took its toll. Gaunt and emaciated, the defenders fired day and night from the cave mouths on the besieging whites, knowing that their death was not far off. Yet death took long in coming. One night, Kruger crept into the caves unperceived. He sat in silence among them. Then, speaking in their own tongue, his deep voice booming eerily in the darkness, and pretending to be one of them, he urged them to surrender. For, he said, the white men will not kill us. Presently, a frightened voice said hoarsely, Magoa, white man. With that, the natives, terrified at the mysterious presence, fled into the farthest recesses of the cave. The siege ceased at last. The few that survived were captured, tried by court-martial, and shot. Thus the tribe perished. Incidentally, the bones of the tribesmen lay undisturbed for years, save for occasional hyenas and wild dogs. They lay there until one moonlit night in the late 80s, a Republican road party removed some of the skulls on the veldt and suddenly swung the grinning relics over the campus from the ends of long bamboos. As the skulls swooped down, apparently from the skies, the black campers set up a yell and stampeded wildly into the veldt. They were so naughty. Mapela met his fate at the top of a high mountain. Led by Kruger, the Boers crept up barefooted in the night through the ravine to the summit. Although challenged by a sentry and met with rifle fire, they climbed up to the native entrenchments, provoked a panic among the blacks, who leapt over the precipice into a tree-filled ravine, and thus brought the campaign to an end. Long after, The tangled bush was literally hung with corpses. In this grim school, then, was moulded the granite will of Stephanus Paul Kruger. He feared no man and no nation. In after years, his very fearlessness, coupled with dislike of all settlers whose outlook differed from his own, helped to implement that race conflict which has persisted for 100 years. But while Kruger was in the thick of his adventure in the caves of Macapá, there was born in England a lad who was to prove no less courageous, no less resolute, and of larger mind. He was destined to fight a grim duel with Kruger and to win it for the time being. His name was Cecil John Rhodes. And that is the end of chapter 2. So it's so strange to read stories like this because they sound like the movies. They don't sound like real life. They sound like, yeah, good story, you know. You did well. Did the AI generate that for you?
I hope it all worked out on the stream though, because like I ended up getting everything going, and it's like, my goodness, everything on my OBS started messing up, so I went in and straightened it all out. But it looks like everything is sounding good. I got most of your story except for the beginning part.
Okay.
So that was
okay.
And like I said, I just in case.
Thank you.
Just in case, because it started messing up at the beginning, so I just went ahead and hit record just to make sure. So
I think I've got mine set to automatically record. I hope mine is also recording this. So between us, we should have.
Good.
We should have a copy.
Good.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's me then for today. Roger, okay. Would you like to take over?
Yeah, I can.
And I'll do listening.
I'll take over now. Like I said, the story that I'm going to be reading is out of Gentlemen, Scholars, and Scoundrels. That's a treasury of the best of Harper's Magazine from 1850 to the present. 1. An image of America since yesterday. One Man's Meat by E.B. White. From August 1939 to July 1942. For nearly 5 years, beginning in October of 1938, E.B. White wrote a monthly department called One Man's Meat for the magazine. He was living on a farm in Maine at the time, and from that quiet, rural vantage point, he turned a discerning eye on a world plunging into war. He set the peaceful life he was leading against the backdrop of the earth, shaking enemies around him in some of the most beautiful prose of this century. Okay, Mr. White is Mr. White is famous for his brilliant corner. I'm having a hard time reading, my eyes. His brilliant corner. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, these are some big words. Hold up. Mr. White is famous for his brilliant uh, counteraliens to the New Yorker or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, he is the author of numerous books of numerous books of essays and poems, and two children's classics, Charles Webb and or Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little. Okay, so that was the introduction at the beginning. Sorry for
Those are brilliant books. Do you know them?
Yes, I do.
They are gorgeous books. Okay, cool. So we're going to listen to.
The,
Is this a short story he wrote?
yes, this is called One Man's Meat.
Okay, awesome.
And those were bad reads because they were in squiggly lines, and I hate squiggly lines. So I don't know the proper words to say for that. Okay, the first sign of spring here is when the ice breaks up in the inkwell at the post office. A month later, the ice leaves the lakes, and a month after that, the first of the summer visitors show up, and the tax collector's wife removes the town records from her Frigidaire and plugs it. No, wait. The wife removes the town records from her Frigidaire and plugs it in for the summer. See, that's the all. See that. See that the all has milk. That I'm gonna have to hold on a minute. Let me go grab something.
No problem.
I'm gonna need something to freaking magnify this. My eyes are horrible. My eyes are horrible. Give me a second.
Can we get a copy on the screen? What you can magnify that you can,
The deal is, though, it's like I'm actually reading right out of the book, so it's just like it's not even a PDF. So give me one second. I've got something in the shelf I can grab real quick and get it. And I'll be right back.
Awesome. Okay, so, well, I feel that I ought to say something while Roger's away. However, all I can say is I really like those stories. Stuart Little, I haven't read Stuart Little, but I have read Charlotte's Web a couple of times. And it's it's a cute little story of a pig. No? Yes, a pig called Wilbur who goes to a farm and has a hard time, and the little spider, Charlotte, who's up above there, is like his mentor. And then at the end of the book, she dies because spider. And she leaves all her babies behind, and all her babies parachute down in their little parachute webs. And life continues. Yes. So it's a child's story with a very deeply compassionate and wise little, would it be the moral of the story? Yeah. So One Man's Meat sounds like it might be another one with a little bit of a story, a little bit of a moral, should I say. Of course, it's taken from the phrase, one man's meat is another man's poison. And so, yeah. Roger, I'm not very good at ad-libbing like this. I usually have a list of things I'm going to talk about. Today, it's all in the book. I could just read. I could cheat. But I don't. and just read a page. I can read it again tomorrow. All right, so here we go. I'm going to do that. This is the beginning of chapter 3. It's called The Parson's Son Goes Diamond Digging. Cecil Rhodes was born in 1853 at Bishop Stortford, a small market town, some 25 miles north of London. His father was a tall, dreamy person of polished manners. His grandfather, a preposterous cowkeeper of Islington. From the first, the child had a will of his own. Like Paul Kruger, who had once cut off his very own shattered thumb with a penknife on the veldt, Rhodes was stoical under pain. With childish resolve, he would grit his teeth and scorn the solace of tears. A significant tale is told of him by one of the masters of Bishop Stortford School, a tale of an old-time cricket match. We see the players darting about on a dark green sward with male spectators in black stovepipe hats and women in crinolines. One of the batsmen presently skied a ball squarely to leg. It struck a child standing with his nurse heavily on his arm. The batsman rushed to the spot, but the crowd closed around. Notwithstanding his agony, the little fellow sturdily refused to cry. I was impressed by the delicacy of his frame and the small bones, was the comment of the master, and by the fortitude of the little boy. Such, as a child, was Cecil Rhodes. At the vicarage, are you back, Roger? At the vicarage, the little fellow must have heard admiring talk of Livingstone blazing his romantic trails across the Congo, followed, shortly after young Rhodes arrived in Africa, by Stanley's search for him in the equatorial forests. He heard talk, too, of savages, pygmies, lakes, and giant waterfalls, and of a new continent awaiting the coming of the white man. What an anomaly, he must have thought. Tight little England supporting her millions, with multitudes sunk in slums of depravity, while the vast, unpeopled tracts of Mother Africa awaited workers. Rhodes was 17 when he landed at Durban. He was a pale, lanky lad shadowed by ill health, but intending to join his brother Herbert as a planter near Richmond in the lovely valley of the Onkomas. As Herbert then happened to be up country on one of his many journeys of adventure, the craze for adventure led to his death in the burning of a hut in the wilds some years afterwards. Cecil went to Maritzburg to stay with Dr. Sutherland, Surveyor General of Natal, and Mrs. Sutherland, whose mother's heart was touched by the frail appearance of the lad. Both liked him. They liked his quiet ways, his love of books, his long stride as he rambled thoughtfully over the hills. And in truth, there was plenty to think about then. Land shortage, the root of all wars foreshadowing the scramble for Africa, Bismarck, looking like a satyr on the world, mocked, smashing France at Metz and Sedan, Italy and her statesmen marching on the nationhood, and England strengthening her hold on Egypt. The brother came back. Cecil went to his brother's estate. The red light of evening, shadow and sun on the great ranges, the palms and bush and the broad golden river, all must have filled this boy with deep content, with an impression of an Africa of great spaces needing settlers. Are you back, Roger? Nope, no Roger. All right. So, sorry, what was that last line? They must have filled this boy with a deep content, with an impression of an Africa of great spaces needing settlers. Why did they not come? In England, Joe Chamberlain was pleading with the taxpayer on behalf of a congested stay-at-home Birmingham, and describing the slums as not fit for a dog to die in. Yet Natal had now to introduce a bill to import 50,000 Indians to work in the Natal plantations, an importation destined to lead to increasing claims from the Indians for political rights in Africa, and even to threats against white supremacy in the colony. Young Rhodes, struck by the anomaly of an overcrowded mother country and this new and lovely land without workers, toiled vigorously on his brother's estate in the valley of the Ankomas and cleared and planted 100 acres, though handicapped by shortage of labor and lack of funds. Assailed as he and his brother were by all the pests, yet they persevered and even won show prizes. Tropical storms sometimes flooded their lands. During one of these, Herbert, seeing his oxen and wagon overwhelmed in a torrent and swept towards the rapids, plunged in, cut the harness, and rescued the oxen, a most daring feat, which would have cost most men their lives. Is that you, Roger? Did I hear you come back?
Yeah, that's me. Sorry about all the noise.
No problem. Did you find the things? Are you?
No, but I can do my best at reading.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. That was
No
horrible.
problem.
All right, so here we go. Okay. The first sign of spring here is when the ice breaks up in the inkwell at the post office. A month later, the ice leaves the lakes, and a month after that, the first of the summer visitors show up. In the text, collector's wife removes the town records from the frigid air and plugs it in for the summer. See, that's the ewe. No, see that the ewe has milk and her udder is all right. Her beats open and that the lambs get the milk. That's what my bulletin said. Stern advice for a city-bred man who came late to Shepherd's estate. The ooze and I were through a joint pregnancy. Or the ewes. Yeah, the ewes. E-W-E-S.
Ewes. Yeah, the ewes. Yeah.
The ewes and I went through a joint pregnancy. They carried the lambs. I carried the bulletin and the worry and the wonder. I was pretty sure that no matter how closely I watched, I would finally be caught off my guard. On a Sunday morning in February, just at daylight, my hour came. My hour came. The little boy burst into the bedroom and cried, "Wake up! You got a lamb!" I pulled on some cold, I pulled on some cold clothes and stumbled out towards the barn yard. Before I got down to the shed where the sheep were, I could hear a lamb blaring. The sound seemed artificial, almost as though somebody were blowing short blasts on a sheep horn. I slowed my step and looked in at the door of the fold. On the frozen ground just over the threshold, a lamb lay dead. A coating of frost had formed on its stiff yellow fleece. The ewe stood just beyond, her stern showing her stern showing traces of blood, her eyes full of bewilderment. A few feet away there was another lamb, staggering about in small, spasmodic jerks. Its little, no, no, its little dang, its little dung smeared body about the size of a turnip. Its woeful voice, strangely penetrating in the biting wind that blew in through the open door. Here was my lamb, all right, waiting to be wrapped warmly in the nearest bulletin. It lived through the morning, lying. It lived through the morning, lying in the carton by the stove. But it was a weak lamb and never recovered from the first awful chill. Shortly after lunch, having nursed twice and received our blessings, it died. It was one of the briefest and most popular visitors we ever had. Being loved by all, and particularly by the Duchamp, who showed a deep, gripping appreciation of its lovely aromatic nuances, and dung in its fierce, warmed, and dung in its fleece, warmed by the kitchen heat, gave it a heavenly intensity quite in keeping with its biblical connotation. There is something about the lamb you don't get over in a hurry. It's been gone quite a while now, and others are on the way. But the Duchamp and I will tremble all over when we think of it. And the Duchamp and I still tremble all over it when we think of it. Miss Nims, take a letter to Henry David Thoreau. Dear history, I thought of you the other day, the other afternoon, as I was approaching Cotton Cord, doing 50 on Route 62. That is a high speed at which to build a philosopher in one's mind. But in this century, we are a nimble branch. On one of the lawns in the outskirts of the village, a woman was cutting the grass with a motorized lawnmower. What made me think of you was that the machine had rather got away from her. Although she was game enough, and in the brief glimpse I had of the scene, it appeared, no, and in the brief glimpse I had of the scene, it appeared to me that the lawn was mowing the lady. She kept a tight grip on the handles, which throbbed violently with every explosion of the one-cylinder motor. And as she sheared around bushes and lurched along at the reluctant trot behind her impetuous servant, she looked like a puppy who had grabbed something that was too much for him. Concord hasn't changed much, Henry. The farm implements and the animals still have the upper hand. I may as well admit that I was journeying to Concord with the deliberate intention of visiting your woods. For although I have never knelt at the grave of a philosopher, nor placed wreaths on moldy poets, and have often gone a mile out of my way to avoid some place of historical interest, I have always wanted to see Walden place of historical interest. No, I have always wanted to see Walden Pond. I've always wanted to see Walden Pond. The account which you left of your sojourn there is, you will be amused to learn, a document of increasing pertinence. Each year it seems to gain a little headway as the world loses ground. We may all be transcendental yet, whether we like it or not, as our common complexities increase. Any tale of indivisible simplicity, and yours is the best written and the cockiest, acquires a new fascination. As our goods accumulate, but not our well-being. Your report of an existence without material adornment takes on a certain awkward credibility. My purpose in going to Walden Pond, like yours, was not to live cheaply, or to live dearly there, or to live dearly there, but to transact some private business with the fewest obstacles. Approaching Concord doing 40, doing 45, doing 50, the swearing or the swearing wheel held swung in my palms. Okay, the steering wheel swung in my palms. The highway held grimly in my vision, the crown of the road now serving me on the right-hand curves, now defeating me on the left-hand curves. I began to rouse myself from the stupefaction which a day's motor journey induces. It was a delicious evening, Henry, when the whole body is one sense and imbibes delight through every pore. And imbibes delight through every pore. If I may coin a phrase, fields were richly brown, where the harrows drown by the strip ford, and lately sunk its teeth. Pastures were given, and overhead the sky had that same everlasting great look which you will find on page 144 of the Oxford Pocket Edition. I could feel the road emitting me through tire, wheel, spring, and cushion. Shall I not have intelligence with earth too? Am I not partly leaves and vegetable mold myself? A man of infinite horsepower, yet partly leaves. Stay with me on 62, and it will take you into Concord, as I say. It was a delicious evening. The snake had come forth to die in a bloody S on the highway, and the will upon its head, its bowels flat now and exposed. The turtle had come up too to cross the road and die in the attempt. Its hard shell smashed under the rubber blow. Its intestinal yearning for the other side of the road forever squashed. There was a sign by the wayside which announced that the road had a cotton surface. You wouldn't know what that is, but neither, for that measure, did I. There is a cryptic ingredient in many of our modern improvements. We are awed and pleased without knowing quite what we are enjoying. It is something to be traveling on the road with a cotton surface. That's weird.
Hmm.
A cotton surface, a road with a cotton surface.
I don't
Okay.
quite understand what that means.
Yeah.
What is it? Is that an American thing? Cotton surface?
I've never heard of a road with a cotton surface ever.
Okay.
Okay, so this the the civilization round Concord today is an odd distillation of city, village, farm, and manor. The houses, yards, fields look not quite suburban, not quite rural. Under the bronze, beneath the blue spruce of the departed Baron Grares, the milch goat of the heirs. Under the Porta Cabre sounds the reconditioned station wagon. Under the grape arbor sits the puppies for sale. But why do men degenerate ever? What makes families run out? It was June, and everywhere June was publishing her. No, it was June, and everywhere June was publishing her immemorial uh, stanza, her immemorial stanza. In the lilacs, in the syringa, in the freshly edged paths, and the sweetness of the moist, beloved gardens, in the little wire wickets, and the little wire wickets that preserve the tulips frost, or the tulips front. Farmers were already moving the fruits of their toil into their yards, arranging the rhubarb, the asparagus, the strictly fresh no yeah the strictly fresh eggs on the pointed stands under the little shed roofs with the patent shingles. And though it was almost 100 years since you had taken your axe and started cutting out your home on Walden Pond, I was interested to observe that the philosophical spirit was still alive in Massachusetts. In the center of the vacant lot, some boys were assembling the framework of a rude shelter. Their whole mind and skill concentrated in the rather introspicious helter skelter. No, helter skeleton. No. Yeah,
Helter Skelter.
helter skeleton.
That's right.
This
Helter
one.
Skelter is right.
This one
Helter
says
Skelter is
skeleton.
right. Helter Skeleton.
Mm-hmm. Helter skeleton of stands and rafters. That's weird. Yeah, it says
Interesting use of words.
introspicious helter skeleton of stands and rafters. They too were escaping from town to live naturally in a rich blend of savagery and philosophy. This evening, after supper at the inn, I strolled out into the twilight to dream my shapeless transcendental dreams and see that the car was locked up for the night. First open the right front door, then reach over, straining, and pull up the handles of the left rear and the left front till you hear the click. Then the handle of the right rear. Then shut the right front, but open it again, remembering that the key is still in the ignition switch. Remove the key, shut the right front again with a bang. Push the tiny keyhole cover to one side, insert key, turn, and withdraw. It is what we all do, Henry. It is called locking the car. It is said to confuse thieves and keep them from making off with the Laprobe. 4 doors to lock behind one robe. The driver himself never uses a Laprobe. The free movement of his legs being vital to the operation of the vehicle, so that when he locks the car, it is a pure and unselfish act. I have in my life gained very little essential heat from Laprobes, or that's weird, Laprobes.
I don't know what it means. Should I
Laprobes.
look it up?
It's interesting. Well,
Let's
that
see
helter
what it means.
that helter skeleton thing
Helter
confused me.
skeleton. What do you say? Laprobes.
Yeah, Laprobes.
Okay, let's see what that is.
That probes. Yeah. Yeah, I have
Plural of Laprobe. That's helpful, right?
Yeah.
Images for Laprobes. Look, it looks like a small, a small blanket thing.
Oh my god.
Laprobe, this says. Not Laprobe. Maybe it's Laprobe. Is it Laprobe?
Yeah, it says Laprobes.
Laprobes.
I have in my life gained very little essential heat from Laprobes.
Laprobes.
Laprobes. Okay, laprobes,
yes.
like all in one word. Okay, laprobes.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's just a blanket that goes over your lap. It's just a little small.
Go figure. Lap robe. Wow.
Lap robe.
Okay, let me do that right this time.
I never knew that. I've never heard that word before.
I have in my life gained very little essential heat from lap robes. Yet I have ever been at pains to lock them up. The evening was full of sounds, some of which would have stirred your memory. The robins still love the calms. The robins still love the elms of New England villages at sundown. There is enough of the thrush in them to make song inevitable at the end of the day, and enough of the tramp to make them hang round the dwellings of men. A robin, like many another American, dearly loves a white house with green blinds. Concord is still full of them. Your fellow townsmen were stirring abroad, not many afoot, most of them in their cars, and the sound which they made in Concord at evening was a rustling and a whispering. The sound lacks steadfastness in its woolly, unlike that of a train. A train, as you know, who lived so near the Fleischberg line, whistles once or twice, sadly, and is gone, trailing a memory in smoke, soothing to ear and mind. Automobiles skirting a village green are like flies that have gained the inner ear. They buzz, cease, pause, start, shift, stop, halt, break, and the whole effect is a nervous polytone, curiously disturbing. As I wander along the toto of ping pong balls drifting from an attic window in front of the Reuben Brown house, a Buick was drawn up, and the wheel motionless, his butt upon his head. His butt upon his head.
What?
Yeah. Okay, so in front of the Reuben Brown house, a Buick was drawn up. At the wheel, motionless, his hat upon his head, a man sat. Lieutenant. No, wait. Yeah. Listening to Amos and Andy on the radio. Listening to Amos and Andy on the radio. It is a drama of many scenes and without an end. The deep voice of Andrew Brown emerging from the car, although it originated more than 200 miles away, was unstrained by distance. When you used to sit on the shore of your pond on Sunday morning, listening to the church bells of Action and Concord, you were aware of the excellent filter of the intervening atmosphere. Science has attended to that, and sound now maintains its intensity without regard for distance. Properly sponsored, it goes on forever. A fair engine out for a trial spin, rolling past Emerson's house, hot with readiness for public duty. Over the barn roofs, the martins dipped and chattered. The martins dipped and chattered. A swarthing daughter of the asparagus grower in culottes, or in a culottes shirt and bandana, pedaled past on his bicycle. It was indeed a delicious evening, and I returned to the inn. I believe it was your house once. A rock with the old ladies on a rock with the old ladies on the concrete veranda. Next morning, early, I started afoot for Walden, out Main Street and down Thoreau, past the depot and the Minuteman Chevrolet Company. That morning was fresh, and in the Bears field along the way, I flashed an agriculturalist. Boy, that means completely a different thing than what I.
Nowadays.
Yeah, I flushed. Oh, that's my eyesight. I flushed an agriculturalist. I flushed an agriculturalist. Quietly, steadily, his beams. Yeah. Okay. I flushed an agriculturist, quietly studying his beans. Thoreau Street, soon joined November 126, or number. Thoreau Street soon joined number 126 in artery of the state. We number our highways nowadays. Our speed being so great, we can remember little of their quality or character, and are lucky to remember their number. Men have an indistinct notion that if they keep this activity long, enough, all will at length ride somewhere. No, all at and long enough, all will at length ride somewhere. In next to no time, your pond is on 126. I know I must be nearing your woodland retreat when the golden, pleasant lunchroom came into view. What is that? The Scullis ice cream. Or, yeah. No, salient ice cream. It's right there around the corner of the Talset sandwiches. Bought hot Frankfurters, waffles, tonics, and lunches, where I, the proprietor, I should add rice, Indian meal, and molasses, just for old time's sakes. The pleasant, incidentally, is for sale. Or the pheasant, no. Yeah, the pheasant. The pheasant, incidentally, is for sale. A chance for for some nature lover who wishes to set himself up beside a pond in the Concord atmosphere and live deliberately from frontage only that while there's essential facts of life on number 126. This beyond the pleasant was a place called Walden Breezes, an oasis whose porch pillars were made of old green shatters saved into lengths. On the porch was a disturbing mirror to give the traveler a comical image of himself who had miraculously learned to gaze in an ordinary glass without smiling. Behind the breezes in the sun parched clearing dwelt your philosophical descendants in their trailers, each trailer the size of your head, or the size of your head, but all grouped together for the sale of the congeniality for the sake of congeniality. Trailer people leave the city as you did to discover solitude and in any weather at any hour of the day or night to improve the 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 trick of time, but they soon conflict in villages and get bogged deeper in the need than ever, or in the mix than ever, or the need than ever. The camp behind Walden Breezes was just uh, re- just rousing itself to the morning. The ground was packed hard under under the hotel, and the sun came through the clearing to bake the soil and enlarge the very smell of cramped housekeeping. Okay, Cushman's bakery truck had stopped to deliver an early basket of rolls. A camp dog, seeing me in the road, barked uh, petulantly. A man emerged from one of the trailers and set forth with a bucket to draw water from some forest tap. Leaving the highway, I turned off into the woods towards the pond, which was apparent through the foliage. The floor of the forest was strewn with dried old oak leaves and trump scripts from beneath the flattened popcorn wrapper. Grommet explangium peep the frail violet. I followed a footpath and descended to the water's edge. The pond laid clear and blue in the morning light, as you have seen it so many times. In the shadows, a man's waterlogged shirt indul- indulgulated gently. A few flies came out to greet me, and convoy me to your cove, past the the neo past the neo bathing site on which the fellows of the girls had scrawled their names. I felt strangely excited suddenly to be snooping around your premises, tiptoeing along watchfully, as though not to tread by mistake upon the intervening century. Before I got to the the curb, I heard something which seemed to me quite wonderful. I heard your frog, a full, clear trump guiding me, still hoarse and solemn, bridging the years at the robins and bridge them in the sweetness of the village evening. But he soon quit, and I came on a couple of young boys throwing stones at him. Your front yard is marked by the bronze tablet set in a stone. 4 small granite posts a few feet away show where the horse was. On top of the tablet was a pair of faded blue bathing trunks with a white stripe. Back of it is a pile of stones, a sort of calm left by your visitors as a tribute, I suppose. It is a rather ugly little heap of stones, Henry. In fact, the hillside itself seems faded, brow-beaten. A few tall, skinny pines, bare of lower limbs, a smattering of young maples in suitable green, some birches and oaks, and a number of trees felled by the last big wind. It was from the hole of one of those fallen pines, torn up by the roots, that I extracted the stone which I added to the cairn, a uh, a sentimental act in which I was interrupted by a small terrier from a nearby picnic group, who confronted me and wanted to know about the stone. I sat down for a while on one of the posts of your house to listen to the blue bottles and the dragonflies. The invaded glade swirled, shabby. No, the invaded glade sprawled, shabby, and mean at my feet, but the flies were turned to the old vibration. There were the remains of a fire in your ruins, but I doubt that it was yours. Also, two beer bottles trodden into the soil and become part of the and became part and become part of the earth. A young oak had taken root in your house, and two or three ferns in enrolling like the ticklers at the banquet. The only other furnishings were a dewberry pattern sheet, a page torn from a picture magazine, and some crusts in wax paper. Before I quit, I walked clear round the pond and found the place where you used to sit on the northeast side to get the sun in the fall, and the beach where you got sand for where you got sand for scrubbing your floor. On the eastern side of the pond where the highway borders it, the statue had the state has built dressing rooms for swimmers, a float with diving towers, drinking fountains of porcelain, and rowboats for hire. The pond is in fact a state preserve and carries a $20 fine for picking wildflowers. A decree signed in all solemnity by your fellow citizens, Walter C. Wardwell, Aaron B. Barco, and Nathaniel I. Bodwich, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So there was a swell of Creek of Sarasite, where they had been building a wide Wudea stairway to the road and the parking area. Swimmers and boaters were arriving. Bodies splashing vigorously into the water, and so I'm guessing he's made it to the swimming area.
Mm-hmm.
And emerging wet and beautiful in the bright air. As I left as I left, a boatload of town boys were splashing about in the mid pond, kidding and fooling the young fellows, singingly at the tops of their lungs in a wild chorus. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I walked back to town along the railroad, following your custom. The rails were expanding noisily. Yeah, the rails were expanding noisily in the hot sun, and on the slope of the roadbed, the wild grape and the blueberry sent up their creepers to the track. The expense on my brief sojourn in Concord was canvas shoes, $1.95. Baseball hat, 25 cents. Gift to take back, left-handed fielder's glove, $1.25 to a boy, and then hotel and meals, $4.25. It's all $7.70. I'm gonna end it right there, man. That's just that's without. I'm even wearing glasses, just to let you know.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna need to get one of the. I had those big flat microphone things where you just put it down.
Oh yes.
And I can't seem to find it, but I apologize for the horrible reading.
I thought it was great. I was intrigued by the story. So who is he writing to? He's writing to a guy who used to live in this cottage next to this lake. He wrote about his life.
This is the legendary Thoreau that he's talking to.
Thoreau. Who's dead, right?
Right. He's gone to the lake that Thoreau was writing from, and he wrote all of his cool poems and stuff about.
Yeah.
And he's telling them what had happened to the lake since he was there.
Catching him up with all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And how there's a tramp living in his house. Or, no, there's probably, I don't know. There's some people who left stuff in his house. And it's got trees growing through it. And there's a remembrance plaque there. And people swim in the lake. Isn't it an amazing picture?
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't he beautifully recreated the whole scene?
Yeah. He said $7.70 too, man.
Yeah.
And then I guess I should read the last paragraph that goes with it. It says, as you see, this amount was almost what you spent for food for 8 months. I cannot defend the shoes or the expenditure for shelter and food. They reveal a meanness and grossness in my nature which you would find contemptible. Yeah.
Interesting.
The baseball equipment, however, is the sort of impediment with which you were never on even terms. You must remember that the house where you practice the sort of economy, the sort of economy which I respect, was haunted only by mice and squirrels.
Mm.
You never had to cope with a shortstop. You never had to cope with a shortstop. He seems like a really well-rounded person.
Mm.
So, do you think a person
Isn't that
like him could?
fascinating?
Is that a mouth? By the way, I don't even know. I don't know. I really need to get a better pair of glasses. I didn't realize how bad they were until I did this. Because I'm usually looking at the computer. I don't really have.
Do you have a Patreon? Maybe we should start a Patreon so that we can raise money so that we can.
Oh, nobody gives no money to me. One Man's Meat by E.B. White.
Don't say that.
Who's E.B. White? Do you know who
E.B. White is the author who wrote Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little.
Yeah, is that a female or a male?
I think it's a guy. Maybe let me check and see. E.B. White.
I've never technically ever checked that out before. Yeah.
Elwyn Brooks White. It's a guy.
Okay. So yeah.
There he is. White on the beat with his Dachshund Mini.
Yeah. Charlotte's Web was the one where the spider becomes friends with the pigs, and
it's so cute.
Pretty good stuff. Whew.
And Stuart Little is the little mouse.
Yeah.
Who goes to live with some people or something. And this is The Trumpet of the Swan. I haven't heard of that one. Maybe we should read it. Wow. So he wrote Stuart Little in 1945, Charlotte's Web in 1952, and The Trumpet of the Swan in 1970.
I'll tell you what, if we do this again, I'm going to have to find that, because that I don't want to do an injustice to the reading like that again. Yeah.
Well, it's a fascinating story. I want to hear the next section of it. Thank you very, very, very much indeed, Roger. I thought that you did very well under the circumstances. And especially since we only organized this morning, so we haven't even had a practice run, or you didn't even know that your glasses were out of date. So thank you very much for being a trooper and joining me and reading an absolutely magnificent story. And we'll do it again next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining us. And see you again. Bye.